Hello my awesome audience, you're highly welcome to my channel. My name is Helen, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you the top AWS services that a DevOps engineer must know. So when I started learning AWS, right, I started by looking for the right resources. I started by searching for a structured learning path I could actually follow, and at a point I was also confused because I didn't know the right services to learn. All right, and at a point I was able to get everything right. So I really want you to focus on the services that matter, because you can learn over 200 services in AWS. You need to learn the right services so you can scale your interview, and as well be useful for your organization, because when you know the right services you have the right skill and you can carry out your job perfectly. Before we go ahead, please subscribe to my channel if you are yet to do so, and also click on that thumbs up to like this video. Also comment if you have questions along the line. All right, I really like you to click on that notification bell as well, so you get notification each time I publish a new video. AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, offers more than 200 different services and features across various categories such as compute, storage, databases, networking, security, machine learning, and lots more. And one thing about these services is that they actually cover a wide range of AWS resources, and they have a lot of they have different functionalities, and those functionalities are actually very crucial for DevOps engineers in designing, deploying, and maintaining a very robust and scalable cloud-based applications and infrastructure. So number one, as a DevOps engineer, you basically need to understand those services. You should be able to use them practically in your environment. Okay, so it's not all about knowing the theory. You need to carry out projects in order to efficiently use those services, so that you can scale your job interview and as well use those services efficiently in your environment. The services we're going to be discussing today has been categorized, and the first category is compute services. Compute services in AWS are a set of cloud-based services that provide a computational resources which is needed to run applications and workload. So basically I'm going to be explaining those resources. I'm going to show you the scenario or the use case and the reason why you must know it as a DevOps engineer. The service we're going to be discussing under compute services is EC2. EC2 is Elastic Compute Cloud, and is actually a versatile and scalable cloud computing service that offers resizable virtual servers known as instances. So EC2 provide developers, DevOps engineers, cloud engineers, and those that use it the ability to have control over their instances, and helping to enable them for installation of custom software, configuration of operating systems, and optimization for the specific workload they want to run. Okay, and so this EC2 instance actually has different instance type you can provision, just the way you hear about virtual machine, all right, or virtual servers in other cloud providers platform. It's the same way AWS call it instance. Okay, so you can launch your instance in order to use the server to probably host an application, to host a website, in order to run some workload. Under EC2 dashboard, we actually have some services that come under EC2. Okay, so under this left navigation pane, you can see we have other services here, and I'm interested in letting you know that this load balancer is actually very important. You need to learn about load balancing, auto scaling, security group elastic. So basically you need to get used to most of the services or features we have under EC2. All right, so I'm going to be dropping a link where I use EC2 instance to deploy or host my website. Okay, that will be very helpful to you, so you have a practical knowledge of using EC2 instance and how you can actually use it to host your application, how you can use it to run your workload basically. So very important. So why do you need to know this as a DevOps engineer? Because you definitely need servers to deploy your application to. This knowledge is very essential in provisioning, scaling, and managing server resources. Now let's talk about networking services. Networking is actually a very important topic. So the first service under networking is VPC. What is a VPC? VPC, also known as a virtual private cloud, is a logically isolated section in your AWS cloud where you can launch your AWS resources into a virtual network that you've defined. I'm pretty sure you have a network, and that is why you can watch this video. Okay, so this network we're talking about is the one in AWS. So we want to be able to know how to configure networking in our virtual environment. So AWS call it VPC. In order for you to create a custom network where you can actually deploy your resources, you need to make use of this. Okay, so basically VPC will help you. It can actually give you control over your network environment, including configuring your IP address ranges, subnet, route table, internet gateway, NAT gateway. So this is VPC and the components over here. Unfortunately, I've actually published a video where I created a custom VPC and the component, and the video is actually very detailed. So I'm going to be dropping the link in the description below. Ensure you watch that video so you can learn how to create a two-tier VPC architecture. So by defining your own custom VPC, you can have control over your network, or you can have control over who access your network, or over the system that will access your network. You can establish VPN connection. You can configure routing to ensure optimal configuration. It is very crucial you know VPC. And the next networking service is Route 53. What is Route 53? This service is a highly scalable and available DNS web service in AWS. This service will basically serve as a domain registrar and DNS resolver, allowing organizations to manage their domain names and efficiently route internet traffic to AWS resources and other endpoints. So when you go to AWS Route 53, let's see what we can get over there. So you basically have some features, and you can register your domain. Okay, so over here, if you go to the dashboard, you can actually you can see we have DNS management. You can configure your traffic management, and you can register a domain. You can also use this for configuring health check, that check the health of your application and all that. Fortunately as well, I have a project that can show you around how to make use of Route 53, and the project is how to host a static website in AWS. So one of the services we use in that project is Route 53. So you basically need to check it out using the link I'm going to be dropping in the description below. So I actually want to give you a scenario where you may need to use Route 53. So imagine your company operates a popular mobile app with users distributed globally. Okay, now to provide low latency and reliable access to the application services, you need to employ or use this Amazon Route 53 to manage DS routing or DNS routing. So this Route 53 will direct user requests to the nearest AWS data center, optimizing performance and all that. So even during a server outage in one region, Route 53 can actually help to, using this service, it can help to route traffic efficiently to another operational region, helping you to minimize service disruption for app users. This is actually a must-know service for you as a DevOps engineer. And the next category is container services. Container services in AWS is actually a very important service that you must know as a DevOps engineer. And a container is actually very important in today's technology. In the DevOps world, it is actually very important. A container helps you to package an application and all its dependencies, including libraries and settings, into a single unit. In AWS, the first container service we're going to be talking about is Elastic Container Registry, which is Amazon ECR. Amazon ECR is a fully managed Docker registry, or a fully managed Docker container registry. It allows you to store, to manage, and to deploy your Docker container images. So when you go to Elastic Container Registry, you can actually You can actually push your image just the way we have Docker Hub, right? You can actually push your Docker images over here. You can pull Docker images from here. You can deploy your Docker images to your target environment, okay? So why should you know this as a DevOps engineer? Because ECR is used to store and manage container images, okay? If you know how to use ECR, it can help you to deploy your Docker images to any target environment. So it is actually a very great skill to know. When you get to Amazon Elastic Container Registry, you can actually create a repository that can help you to store your Docker image, just the way you create a repository in Docker Hub, okay? So it is a must know service in AWS. Now the second service under container services in AWS is Elastic Container Service, which is Amazon ECS. And what is this all about? It is actually a fully managed container orchestration service designed to simplify the deployment and management of containerized applications. This can provide an efficient platform for running your Docker containers. It can actually enable you as a DevOps engineer or DevOps teams to easily scale and orchestrate your workload, just the way we use Kubernetes as a container orchestration platform. Is the way you can actually use ECS to orchestrate your workload across clusters. All right, so as a DevOps engineer, this service is a must know, and fortunately I've also deployed my application to Amazon ECS, and I published that video in AWS. So get the link in the description below. In order to keep yourself busy with that, you need the practical knowledge of this, okay? So you can be bold enough to discuss it during your interview and be very proficient when you're using it in your industry as well. So you basically need to know how to provision clusters over here, how to manage namespaces, task definitions, how to create services under your cluster. So why do you need to have this Elastic Container Service skill, or why do you need to know how to make use of this ECS? Because as a DevOps professional, it will enable you to efficiently manage container lifecycles. It will help you to automate deployment and to maintain resilient and scalable microservices and applications in AWS. So another service in the list is Elastic Kubernetes Service. Okay, so Elastic Kubernetes Service, also known as Amazon EKS, is a managed Kubernetes service that that simplifies the deployment, the management, and scaling of containerized applications using Kubernetes. As you know, Kubernetes can actually be set up with different tools such as Minikube, KubeADM, Kind, and other tools. They help to lessen the stress of managing a Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so they will help you to manage and take control of the control plane, so you can actually focus on your workload. It basically abstracts the underlying infrastructure, okay, so that it will be easier for you to deploy and scale applications using Kubernetes. Okay, so using EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service in AWS, will basically enhance resource utilization. It will ensure that your application runs smoothly in a containerized environment. This is my cluster, which is up and running over here. I created my cluster, created my node group, and set up my worker nodes. Okay, so yeah, you basically need to know how to create a Kubernetes cluster. And fortunately, I've actually created a Kubernetes cluster, and we use Amazon EKS, and that was actually very detailed. So I'm going to be dropping the link in the description below. You have to set up your cluster from scratch to finish, and that is a very detailed video to help you understand how to make use of this service practically to provision a Kubernetes cluster. Now the next category is storage and data management services. Okay, these services will actually help you with storage. It can help you to store your data. It will also help you in data management. And let's get started and see what these services what the services are in AWS. The first service under this category is Amazon S3. And what is this Amazon S3? It is known as Simple Storage Service. It is an object storage service for storing and retrieving data such as files, images, and backups. It can actually accommodate any type of data. Amazon S3 actually offers this high durability, availability, and scalability. So customers of all sizes and industries can actually use Amazon S3 to store and protect any amount of data for for a range of use cases, such as data lakes, website, mobile application, backup and restore, archive, etc. So I've also used Amazon S3 bucket to host a study website. Okay, so I'm going to be dropping the link as well, and that knowledge can actually help you to learn how to make use of S3 practically. So why should you learn AWS S3 or Amazon S3? You need to learn this because you need to actually utilize this service to store your application assets, logs, and backup. So the familiarity is very vital for efficient data management. You start by creating your bucket, and after creating buckets, you now start to store your data or to host your website, whatever you want to do with it, because it actually has a wide use case. Okay, so get started with S3 today. Make use of the link I'm going to be dropping in the description below. The next service under the same category is Amazon RDS. What is Amazon RDS? It stands for Relational Database Service, and this service is a managed database service in AWS, which AWS have designed to simplify database administration tasks for various relational database engines. So when you go to RDS, you can actually make use of different relational database engines like PostgreSQL, MySQL, SQL Server, and others. Actually help you to automate some crucial database management functions like routine software patching, automated backups, and database scaling. So it will allow you as a DevOps engineer to focus on application development and deployment. Now let me give you a scenario. So let's imagine you run an e-commerce website that relies on a highly available and scalable database. Okay, so Amazon RDS can help you to streamline the database management, ensuring your product catalog and your customers data are consistently accessible. During peak shopping season, RDS automatically scales in order to handle increased traffic, maintaining a scalable or seamless shopping experience for your customers. So as a DevOps engineer, you need to often interact with your database in order to support your application. So basically, Amazon RDS will simplify the database management for you in order to reduce the administration task and reducing the operational overhead of managing databases as well. The next service in this same category is DynamoDB. What is a DynamoDB? A DynamoDB is a fully managed NoSQL database service that provides DevOps teams with a highly scalable and low latency data storage solution. This service offers you automatic scaling and backup, ensuring that applications can seamlessly handle varying workload and recover from unexpected data loss. So let's paint a scenario. Imagine you have a gaming application that requires a database that is capable of handling a rapidly changing user data, such as leaderboard and in-game progress. DB's low latency and flexible scaling will meet your app dynamic demand, basically, okay? And it will provide the players with real-time updates and personalized experiences. So as a DevOps engineer, you definitely need to know about how to use this service, okay? Because this will actually help you to seamlessly scale, and because it also has this flexible schema, it is actually very efficient and yeah, you basically need to learn about DynamoDB right now. Even for organizations that use Terraform, that have a state file stored in Amazon S3, you can actually use DynamoDB to lock the Terraform state file, so that that will actually ensure that two people are not trying to modify the same configuration file, or trying to modify something in your infrastructure at the same time. So that DynamoDB is also used to lock Terraform state file. The last service in this category is Elasticache. And what is Amazon Elasticache? Elasticache is actually a managed in-memory cache service that is compatible with Redis and Memcache. Okay, so it can actually help to speed up data retrieval by caching frequently accessed data. Now, let me quickly give you a scenario. Imagine you have a rapidly growing social media platform or app, and the number of users has surged. How do you manage it? When the number of users surge, you can actually it can cause your database queries for user profile to slow down. So to address this, you as a DevOps team, you basically need to use Elastic Cache with Redis. Okay, this caching solution will significantly accelerate the user profile retrieval by storing frequently accessed data in memory. Okay, so this result will basically help you. It will boost the performance, and it will also ensure a seamless user experience during high traffic period. So you should know it as a DevOps engineer in order to enhance application performance through data caching. So the next category is development and CI/CD tools. And in AWS, there is what we call AWS developer tools. These are a set of services and tools in AWS to help DevOps engineers and developers to build, test, and deploy applications more efficiently and effectively in AWS. So with these tools, you can build your CI/CD pipeline, okay? And you can build, test, and deploy your application to your target environment. AWS Code Commit is one of the services under AWS Developer Tool. So once I go to AWS Commit, I'm gonna see other AWS Developer Tools, and here they are. So we have AWS Code Commit, Artifact, Code Build, Deploy, AWS Code Deploy, Code Pipeline, and all that. Okay. So let's start with Code Commit. Code Commit is a fully managed source code repository service that enables you to securely store and collaborate on Git-based source code. So just the way we use GitHub to store our code and also collaborate with other developers and DevOps engineers is the way you can also use Code Commit. You can push your code to Code Commit to store your code. It will enable you to develop with to collaborate with other developers as well. And this AWS Code Build over here this is a service, is a very scalable and managed build service that it compiles your source code, it runs the test, and also produces a deployable artifact automatically. And coming to AWS Code Deploy is an automation service that it simplifies the deployment of application to a variety of compute resources. Okay, and you can also use it in the cloud and on-premise, right? And coming to this code pipeline, this is a continuous integration and continuous delivery service that basically help you to orchestrate and automate the release process. You can also integrate other AWS services for streamline development workflow. All right. So these are actually the AWS developer tools that you must know as a DevOps engineer. So basically, DevOps engineers need to employ these services to automate software development workflow from source code management to production deployment. You basically need to learn this. All right. Now let's talk about automation services in AWS. Automation in AWS is actually very, very important because I mean, with automation, your life can be easier. Like you can actually, automate those repetitive tasks you carry out in AWS. Okay, so automation services in AWS are a set of services that will allow you to automate various tasks and workflow, making it easier for you to manage and maintain your AWS resources efficiently. The first automation service I'll be talking about is cloud formation. What is cloud formation? Cloud formation is actually an infrastructure as a code service which allow you to define and provision your AWS infrastructure using templates. Just like Terraform, so CloudFormation is a managed service by AWS that can help you to automatically provision your infrastructure, by just using a template. You start by creating your stack, and you can actually use a template to provision your resources. So as a DevOps engineer, you use CloudFormation to automate infrastructure provisioning and management to actually ensure that you have a consistent and repeatable deployment. The next automation service is System Manager. System Manager is a service that provides you with this unified interface to manage your AWS resources. Okay, so this service offers you features like automation, patch management, and configuration management. So you can get started with System Manager, and Engineer, this service can actually help you to automate those operational tasks that you carry out normally, okay? Thereby ensuring that you have a consistent and secure infrastructure management. So you definitely need to know AWS System Manager, and you can actually start now. The next automation service is AWS Lambda. Lambda is actually a serverless and event-driven compute service. So it's also under compute service, but because it's also an automation service, I decided to categorize it under automation services. Okay, so this Lambda helps you to, it lets you run your code for virtually any type of application or backend services without provisioning or managing servers. When you hear serverless service, you don't really need to provision any server. All you need to do is to come with your code, right? And Lambda can just run it for you. So you don't really need servers, because AWS will take care of the servers for you. Let me give you a scenario for AWS Lambda. Imagine you're managing an e-commerce platform, and now you have you are in your peak shopping seasons like Black Friday. Those period traffic surges, and that time you definitely need to automatically scale your application. Now, Lambda can come to the rescue as you set up event triggers, using Lambda to automatically provision additional resources. And this can actually ensure that customers have these they have a better user experience during those high demand periods. So as a DevOps engineer, you should employ or use Lambda for serverless architecture in order to help you automate your task and event-driven processes efficiently. And the next service in the list is Elastic Beanstalk. What is Elastic Beanstalk? So Amazon or AWS Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service offering, okay, is a PaaS offering, and AWS Elastic Beanstalk is a platform that can actually streamline the deployment and development of your application and services. This service can actually abstract the underlying infrastructure complexities, making it easier for developers or DevOps engineers to focus on coding and application logic, while AWS will help you to handle the provisioning, the scaling, the monitoring, and maintenance of the infrastructure, thereby accelerating the development and deployment process. So you really need to know how to make use of Elastic Beanstalk. And even when you have your CICD running in AWS, Elastic Beanstalk is actually a platform as a service environment where you can also, deploy your application to, you can make it a target environment so that your application can be deployed from your pipeline to this platform. So let me give you a scenario where you need Elastic Beanstalk. So suppose you're part of a startup team developing a new web application with limited resources and time. You can choose this service for its simplicity, okay, because it's actually very simple to use. This can help to streamline the deployment process, automatically handle capacity provisioning, load balancing, scaling, and as well allow you to allow you and your team to focus on coding and the feature development, accelerating your time to market as well. So as a DevOps engineer, in order to have faster time to market and to make your life easier, you can deploy your application using Elastic Beanstalk. And guess what? We have the next category as security, identity, and compliance. Security is a very, very vital skill, or it's actually a must know for every DevOps engineer. As long as AWS is concerned, you really need to have a secured infrastructure. So when it comes to security, you basically need to know the services in AWS that you can use to secure your infrastructure. So the first service in the list is AWS IAM. This is identity and access management. Okay, so AWS IAM, what is it all about? This is actually a service that will enable you to manage your user identities, permissions, and access to AWS resources. IAM was actually the first service I learned in AWS, and in IAM you can actually create users, you can create roles with permissions, you can create policies and all that. You definitely need to know IAM. You need to know how you can create a role and attach policies or permissions. You need to know how to give access to other people in your team to, and also define what they can access, what action they can carry out. Okay, so it's a very, very vital role in maintaining the principle of least privilege. Okay, this principle of least privilege will ensure that nobody is having a permission that is not really necessary to carry out his or her task. Okay, that is actually very, very it can help to enhance security of your environment, and it can also help to maintain compliance and help you obtain or keep to best industry standard. So it's very, very important. This can help you secure your AWS environment and manage access securely. The next service in the list is key management service, known as KMS. So this is a security service in AWS. It's a fully managed encryption service that enables you to create and control your encryption keys used to secure your data. This service basically help you to protect your sensitive information and ensure compliance with various data security regulations as well. So it will be like a central management service where you can actually configure your auditing capabilities in order to encrypt your key. Now I'm going to give you a scenario. Let's paint a scenario where you may need to use Amazon Key Management Service. Imagine your organization stores some sensitive customer data in an Amazon S3 bucket. Now, in compliance regulations, you may require data encryption at rest. Now, as a DevOps engineer, you may use AWS KMS to create and manage encryption keys. All right, so with this service you can easily encrypt and decrypt your data, ensuring that the security and compliance of your data stored in S3 is met. So this is actually very, very essential. Please, as a DevOps engineer, know about KMS because you definitely need to you definitely need it. Yeah, you need it in your environment to encrypt some sensitive data to ensure that the data you have in AWS is actually secured. Now we have next service in the list, which is Secret Manager. Just as the name implies, it helps you to manage or maintain some secrets. All right, so it helps protect access to applications, services, and IT resources. It enables rotation, retrieval, and storage of sensitive information. And I'm gonna give you a scenario. Imagine you are responsible for managing application credentials and other sensitive information in your organization's accounts or in your organization's cloud infrastructure. Now with AWS Secret Manager, you can actually securely store, rotate, and access secrets such as API keys, database password, and all that across your microservices architecture. Okay, so this will ensure that your application always have up-to-date and secure access to critical resources, reducing the risk of unauthorized access and data breaches. Okay, so it is actually very, very important you learn you know how to use AWS Security Manager. It will be beneficial to you as a DevOps engineer in order to securely manage credentials and other secrets in your application. The last service under this category is AWS Certificate Manager. AWS Certificate Manager is a service that simplifies the management and deployment of SSL or TLS certificate for secured website communication. If you check, if you look at this place, you know this. I'm in AWS Management Console, and if you see this padlock in any website or any web application, you should know that it is actually secured. Okay, so with this padlock, you have HTTPS, and what made it available or possible is by the is by using certificate manager or by using certificate, because you can actually get your certificate from CA, okay, certificate authorities, but this one is actually certificate from AWS because it's a managed service. So you can use this to provision, to manage and deploy your SSL or TLS certificate in AWS. You don't want to deploy an application that is not secured. So once you have HTTP and not HTTPS, it is very, very vulnerable, and you are just operating on a very faulty foundation. So from the projects I've published in this platform, I'm going to be dropping the link, where we hosted our static website in AWS. We actually use AWS Certificate Manager as well, okay, in order to secure our website. So I'll encourage that you go through that project, because you will stand a chance of learning many different services in AWS practically, okay. So ACM, which is Amazon Certificate Manager, will ensure that your certificates are up to date. It will reduce security risk and ensure that your data is encrypted in transit. Okay, so you as a DevOps engineer, you can also easily integrate ACM with your application and services for enhanced security and compliance. The last category we have today is logging and monitoring services. Monitoring your AWS infrastructure is very, very critical, okay? Because your application needs to be secured, your website needs to be secure. Whatever the workload you're running or storing in AWS, it needs to be secured. So under logging and monitoring services, we have CloudWatch and then one other service, okay? So CloudWatch, what is CloudWatch? CloudWatch is primarily a monitoring service in AWS. This service collects and track metrics from various AWS resources and applications, allowing you to monitor the performance and operational health of your AWS environment. Unfortunately, I have a kind of mini project where I installed and configured a CloudWatch agent. So you definitely need to learn CloudWatch practically using that video. I'm going to be dropping the link as well in the description below. So you need to learn CloudWatch, because in CloudWatch you can actually have your logs from your application can actually be logged here. Okay, so you can set alarm as well to serve as a trigger when based on a predefined threshold or anomalies in metrics data. So the alarm is also very, very critical. You can also create a dashboard here that can help you to visualize and analyze the collected metrics and log. So this is log section, this is metrics section, and yeah, even in your CICD pipeline, you can decide to send the logs of your application. So this can be integrated with any other AWS services in order to help you monitor what is going on in your website or in your application or even your server. All right, so having these metrics, having this dashboard over here, having the logs can help you to better monitor your environment. Now let me give you a scenario. Let's imagine you have a company or you're working in an organization, and you guys are running a critical e-commerce website, and in order to ensure that you have high availability, you basically need to use CloudWatch, because CloudWatch can help you to monitor the website performance. It can trigger alarm if the latency exceeds a certain threshold, and it can also automatically scale resources to handle increased traffic during peak shopping season. And this can help to ensure a seamless shopping experience for customer. So as a DevOps engineer, using CloudWatch or learning how to effectively use CloudWatch can help you to gain insight into your application and infrastructure performance. So the last but not the least service today is CloudTrail. CloudTrail is primarily a login service in AWS. It helps to record API calls and related events that has been made on your AWS account. How do you know when someone deletes your resources in AWS? You can actually use CloudTrail to track such person that actually did that, record that. So it provides an audit trail of who did what, where, and when in your AWS environment. So CloudTrail can also be used for it's very essential for security, compliance, and auditing purposes. So let me give you a scenario. If your organization has this strict compliance requirement and you need to maintain an audit trail for all the APIs activities across your AWS resources, this CloudTrail can help to provide a detailed logs of every API call, enabling you to track changes, investigate security incidents, and also help you to meet the compliance standard effectively. So as a DevOps engineer, you can use this to track and audit changes in your AWS environment, helping you to enhance security and accountability. Here comes the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I would really like you to drop a thumbs up for me if you really enjoyed this video. Subscribe and click on that notification bell so you get updates each time I publish a new video. You can actually comment, suggest if you want me to create any of this or publish a video on any of these services for you guys. Okay, and also please share this video with your friends within your network, and thank you so much. Remember, you can't learn all these services at a time. It is actually a gradual process, but ensure you are not just learning theory. Okay, ensure you make use of the links I'm going to be dropping, so you go through those projects and the tutorials in order to help you to make use of this practice or these services and learn them practically. All right, thank you, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye.